We're going to talk about Charlie Kirk, right? Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. I think that everybody, I think right and left, regardless of what you think about Kirk or what you thought about Charlie Kirk, I think that we all are in agreement that political violence is never appropriate. And like him being, a family man, had young kids, it really hit at home. So I wanted to do this. I wanted to talk about it. I want to talk about the blowback that a lot of us on the left are getting, Ed and I included. Like, if you look at our inbox, we have probably 24 death threats right now. I spoke to Jojo from Jersey. I spoke to Harry Sisson this morning. They're all saying the same thing. Their inboxes are filled with death threats. They're basically repeatedly hitting the report button to the FBI. So it's not a good time we're in right now. And I'm not trying to play victim here. God forbid. Like I've never had anything close to what happened to Charlie Kirk happen to me. But it's the way that the right is.
So I think we should start off saying it was a tragedy what happened yesterday, and like I wish that people wouldn't have posted the actual video of him bleeding out. I mean, that was horrible. Like, I wish I never saw that.
Yeah.
It's something I just can't get out of my head. And it's like he's somebody we engaged with. Like, we would have engagement with him on Twitter in the past. I completely disagree with so much of his rhetoric and so much of what he would say. But at the same time, he's a human being, he's a father, he's a husband. Nobody deserves that, no matter what their political opinion is. I mean, I think we have to realize that violence is not the answer to people who have different views than we do.
Yeah, and I think that what we're seeing right now, we're seeing a lot of outpouring of support, not support for Charlie Kirk's views, but support for his family from the left, right, and from the right. So I'm happy to see that because we don't want to preach any violence. We don't want to preach hate. I think some people think that Charlie Kirk did that, but I mean, everybody has their own political views, and nobody should be
No,
targeted.
I mean, I think I think depending on who you ask, they're always going to say the other side, is going too far with their rhetoric, right? So,
Yeah,
Brian, are
absolutely.
you there? You look like you froze up for a
Yeah.
minute.
Yes. So I think that the biggest thing that I'm noticing is that the right, and this includes President Trump, they're using this as some sort of, another divisive measure where they can attack the left, the extreme left, as they call it, or the violent left, even though we don't know who this person was. We have some images of him. He's
I,
wearing
I, I
black.
I mean, I think we can assume it was political violence. It was probably somebody who had more left-leaning viewpoints. But what really aggravates me is when those on the right start holding other people on the left responsible for what one crazed individual did or does. And it's repeat every time this happens. If it's somebody on the left, they, attack the entirety of the left and say, "Oh, that's the left's rhetoric that's causing this." And if it's somebody on the right, they come up with every excuse why it's not that person wasn't actually on the right. Like we saw with Melissa Wortman. Obviously, the killer was a conservative, right? He was a Trump voter, but I mean, again, that doesn't mean all Trump supporters support what he did. Probably, 0.0000001% might. So it's the rhetoric, and then it spirals back. And what the right likes to do is just deny. Like, even if it's somebody on the right, they still blame the left. And it shouldn't be a blame game of left versus right. It should be a blame game of, this person is mentally ill, or this person is a bad person, or this shouldn't be tolerated. Nobody's saying it should be tolerated.
No, not at all. But I think that like the threats that we've gotten, the threats that other people on the left and on the right are getting, because now there's this everything's been stepped up a notch when it comes to the rhetoric, and when it comes to, like, people are calling for civil war. People are saying, "Oh, I mean, I have so many messages in my inbox saying that I'm a hateful, violent person. I've never posted anything hateful or violent on any of my social media platforms. If you follow both of us, you'll see that. So, like, they're now trying to label anybody on the left that preaches against fascism or preaches against Donald Trump.
So you
And
said you never post anything hateful. I think we both post things hateful directed to individuals and groups that deserve hate. Like, if somebody is, you know, racist, we're definitely hateful of racism, right? But
right,
it's
right.
not to the point where it's like, oh, go out and harm this person. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, no, correct. And as I was saying, like when you have a president that has a national address because Charlie Kirk was killed, which I mean, eh, whatever he wants to do there, he didn't give a national address when other people on the left were killed, but that's up to him. He's president. When you have a person like that come out and immediately blame the left and immediately, you know, marginalize the left, push them out as evil people. That's only going to stoke the flames, fan the flames. And when you have people that, listen to every single word that Donald Trump says and have people who think that Donald Trump is a king, you have them now listening to him and directing their anger at people on the left, at influencers on the left, whether it's Harry Sisson or us or Jojo or Lev. There's so many people that are just out there to push for truth and push for, human dignity and push for, fairness for marginalized communities, and they're now looked at as violent and hateful when they're not. It's sad.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think it's gonna stop under Donald Trump. I think, every opportunity he gets, he's going to try and use it to demonize those who disagree with him. It's always been that case, right? Like, you know, demonize, 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 and it kind of wears people down. And I mean, I would argue that it stokes violence on both sides when you have the president of the United States demonizing the other side. I mean, this goes for any president. I think, you know, that's not something we should see or something we should have in this country.
Yeah, something I will never do is if a person on the right attacks somebody on the left, I'm not going to blame the entirety of the right. I'm not going to say, "Oh, it's like personal responsibility." And then the right throws, "Oh, the gun debate." Well, the gun didn't kill anybody. Why are you blaming the gun? Well, that's a completely different argument, and I hate that argument. But Kirk himself, he's spoken out against, gun reform or legislation that would actually end stuff that might have prevented him from being shot. And sadly, those views are, perpetrated because people want to believe what the Second Amendment means isn't what the Second Amendment means. So I think that everybody on the right and on the left, I think we all can be better. I think we all can, you know, understand that what you say matters, but also understand that saying that somebody has tendencies of fascism or saying that we're currently headed towards fascism, that is not dangerous. That's like saying, oh, we should have locked up people who claimed that Hitler was fascist or
Well,
like
he did,
well,
right?
exactly. And what does that tell you? So speaking out against somebody politically isn't the same as speaking for violence or
It's like, what about all the times that Trump and the right call Democrats Marxists, comparing Democrats to Karl Marx or socialists or communists? And I mean, communism was like the enemy of America for many decades, and to some people, they still view it as how generations past viewed it, like the Soviet form of communism. And Democrats are called communists every single day, right? Like that's not going to lead that. That's not something that should be stopped, right? That if people on the right want to say that Democrats are communists, that's their free will. That's their right to do. But to blame them for if something bad happens to a Democrat because they call it Democrats communists is absurd. So it's like I noticed people saying, "Oh, but you said that Hitler did this and Trump also did this, so you're partially responsible." No, I'm just comparing reality. I wish more people would have pointed out bad things that Hitler did, right? I wish people would say this isn't going in a good direction. If this keeps spiraling, it could get worse. I wish people did that back then. when Hitler and, the Nazis were leading.
Yeah, and people don't look fondly on those who, tried to squash the free speech of the people that were warning about Hitler, right? So, and I'm not comparing Trump to Hitler, and I never have. Like being Jewish, I very I don't compare people directly to Hitler because I think that it downplays what Hitler did. But at the same time, I have made several tweets over the last year just posting things that Hitler did, not mentioning Trump, not mentioning MAGA, not mentioning any American politician. And what happens? All of MAGA attack me saying, "How dare you compare Trump to Hitler?" I didn't even mention Hitler. So that's telling me that they think that the actions of
You mean you
Hitler
didn't mention Trump?
reminisce.
You mentioned Hitler, but
I
not.
didn't even mention Trump, right?
Yeah.
So I'd post something historically that Hitler did that might sound like something that's happening in America today, and they attack me for comparing Trump to Hitler. That's not what I'm doing.
Like
They're doing it.
take away people's due process, right? Like, stuff like that. It's stuff that, when you see it happening in America, you worry that history could repeat itself. That doesn't mean that we're saying Trump's Hitler. It doesn't mean that we're saying that America is going to turn into Nazi Germany. But it's there's a fine line, and when that line's crossed, it can go too far. Certain things like, you know, I mean, the demonization on both sides, I would say, like you shouldn't demonize somebody. You shouldn't hold every Republican or every Democrat responsible because one Democrat or one Republican does something horrific. It's like just because somebody says they like a chocolate chip cookie and I like chocolate chip cookies too, and that person robs a bank, that doesn't make me a bank robber. It's just absurd, and it's kind of disgusting when people do that.
Yeah, and here's just a story that I just saw broke. Our Governor Ron DeSantis here in Florida, announced an investigation into any teacher who celebrated Charlie Kirk's tragic passing. Um, I mean, teachers shouldn't be celebrating that, but I think that we should be focusing on other things. These are
And
just
investigate, what's he gonna investigate? Yeah, obviously, a teacher shouldn't be celebrating that, right? No teacher should celebrate any death. No teacher should celebrate the death of Democrat, or Republican, or anyone. But, I mean, this is just another
Floyd,
politicizing it, right?
right? Yeah, so we, we as Americans should be able to agree that political violence has no place in this country. And Ed and I, we have said that probably hundreds of times over our history on X, on these other platforms like Blue Sky. And I think that Republicans just want to make something out of nothing. They want to look for blame. They want to say, "Oh, these people on the left are the ones that caused this," even though, I mean, maybe this person isn't even on the left. And that is possible. There's a possibility that this person could have had a weird religious belief. Charlie Kirk is Christian. They could have had, beliefs counter to his, but still not be somebody on the left. So don't don't just immediately say, "Oh, it has to be somebody on the left." Is it possible? Is it more likely than not? Probably.
I mean, I think we can all assume it was a political assassination, right? It was politically driven, but we don't know exactly what those politics are, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think what would you say is the best way to approach people? We have like I said in the beginning of this, we have probably 2 dozen threats, some threatening to kill our kids, like just disgusting threats in our inboxes on various platforms, mostly on X, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I mean, I've actually replied to some of them, and I tried having a decent conversation with them, and sometimes they go well, sometimes not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, other just ignore them. Ignore them, report them to the FBI. I think that can be helpful.
Yeah, but how about how do we combat those who are, turning the volume up against the left because of a crime that took place that none of us had any control over, that are saying that it's your rhetoric for calling out, Trump on various things. It's your rhetoric that caused this. And then how can that be possible without squashing free speech? Do they want us not to have a political opinion?
Well, that's the thing. Every political opinion is rhetoric. Every single one. So, I mean, every single campaign ad is rhetoric. Every single time a politician opens their mouth, it's rhetoric. So, what is the idea here? Are you saying, okay, you can no longer take part in left-wing rhetoric, liberal rhetoric, Democrat rhetoric, so you must
That's
come over
what
to our side or you're the enemy? I mean, that's absurd. But I feel like that's what the right is trying to do with a lot of these accusations. "Oh, your rhetoric led to this." No, 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 it didn't. It that's like saying that Trump's rhetoric leads to every crime that a Republican commits against a Democrat. I mean, that's absurd.
what like I want to get your thoughts and I'll tell you mine, but what immediately went through your head when you saw this news yesterday?
Well, I heard there was a shooting at UVU at the Charlie Kirk event, and I'm like, "Oh god, that's terrible. I hope everybody's okay." I saw everybody running, and then, like, 5 minutes pass, and I see Charlie Kirk shot. I'm like, "Okay, hopefully it's just, hopefully he's okay. Hopefully it was, like, a flesh wound or, something like happened to Donald Trump." And then I see the video, the video from far away where he's hit and he kinda goes limp, and I'm like, "Okay, well, didn't look good, but, hopefully he can still make it through this." And then I saw the close up and I'm like, "He's not gonna make it." I mean,
Yeah,
it was
I
just
I
obvious.
was I was actually on a live with Lev Parnas, like, right after it happened, immediately right after, and you sent me your tweet that you made about it. So I went live and I was, like, kinda, like, sh in shock, like, like, the last thing I wanna do is see a political commentator assassinated, like, that's terrible, like, nobody deserves that, no matter how much you disagree with him. I disagree with him vehemently on so many things. We've interacted with him, we've had conversations back and forth, and they got heated sometimes. But like that's the last thing you ever want to see. So when I saw, I the same thing went through my head. Okay, I mean, he's gonna be okay. Like let's hope he's gonna be okay. And then I'm having this live with Lev, and I'm checking the news as we go. And I saw that video. I'm like, oh, not good, not good. And like immediately my heart sank, and like I know he has a young family. It's sad, it's terrible. Um, and then I started wondering, what's the blowback gonna be? And as like selfish as that might be, like I realize that there's so many people on the left who are now, gonna get criticized, and people that are gonna spread misinformation and call people on the left names that will probably turn the volume up, including the president. I think
Well,
what
and
the
and
president.
and, like, does this squash speech, right? Like, does this intimidate those on the right? Does this intimidate those on the left? Like, people become fearful of speaking their minds.
Well,
And I think we are probably seeing that to some degree. I know there's probably a lot of fear, especially for larger social media users, that, they're thinking twice about making posts, like, with their opinions, and that
well,
shouldn't be the case no matter what side you're on.
one thing that, like, I can really praise Kirk on, like, I don't have a lot of praise for him, but one thing that I can praise him for is his willingness to debate. Oftentimes, people that support Trump, MAGA, it's nearly impossible to get an intelligent person, and Kirk was undoubtedly very intelligent, to come and debate somebody on the left because it's very hard to defend the motives, the ideologies of Trump and his supporters and everything that he's doing, especially in the last 8 months. So I give Kirk a lot of credit for standing by his beliefs, even though I think that some of them were hateful, bigoted, and I disagree with a lot of them. He was able to have conversations in a respectful manner for the most part, and have conversations with some of the best, debaters on the left, and do so in a way that was actually informative. I think informative for me because I could hear the pushback that the left could give, and it allowed me to develop, pushback of my own.
I had some debates with Charlie on X. I know you sent me a post yesterday just about random politics, right? And it was always rather respectable. I mean, I know we threw some insults at each other. I, but I mean, it was dialogue, and I think, I think we need more dialogue, debate in this country. I think that, both sides need to hear the other side, even if you don't agree with the other side. At least you're not stuck in your box, right?
Well, and I think that what this does is this is gonna take that away. You're gonna have people on both the right and the left fearful of getting out, and I mean, online, it's gonna be fine, right? There's gonna be these conversations online, but out in, like, a debate style, out in public, it's people aren't gonna feel comfortable doing that. So this assassination, it doesn't just hurt the right, it hurts both sides because now there's going to be less dialogue, and when there's less dialogue, there's less, coming together, there's less understanding, and there's more extremism on both sides. There's going to be, we're just going to break further and further apart, and that's what social media has done as well, because the algorithms, they push people into their own echo chambers, and by doing that, you're you're making people even more extreme. When your own ideas are reinforced over and over in an echo chamber, they get more extreme. When you're
Well, and I think people post extreme things for the sake of going viral too, and that leads to even more problems. People like, oh, this is my opinion, but I'm going to make it extreme and take it just almost too far, so that I get more clicks, get more likes, get more reposts, and I think that's something that social media has done. And another thing is that we don't know who the other person, if it's not a verified account, we don't know who that other person is. So the person who you might think is a Democrat, or the person who you might think is a Republican, they may be like a Russian troll account trying to cause more and more division in this country, or a Chinese troll account. We know those exist. We know that there's a lot of a lot of propaganda being pushed from other countries in America on social media in order to sway the American public into one side or another, and sway their politicians in that direction as well. So a lot of times, like, we know that Russia does this. They not only do they support Trump in the election, but their 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 main goal, I would say, was to cause division. And they would take extreme views on the left, take extreme views on the right, and kind of create these arguments to make both sides seem, to make the masses on both sides seem like the extremities, the extremes of both sides. And it's not something that's going to end. I think, verification, real identities for social media accounts are important, and they should be held higher in the algorithm, so that we don't see some of this garbage that's coming from people who could be from who knows where.
Yeah, I think some verification of not only a person's real identity, but where they're from. As much as I think privacy advocates would warn against that, I think something like that could help. At least, push people. Like, if you're talking as yourself, you're gonna be so much less hateful and less violent in your speech. But
Yeah,
if you're
you're
talking under a pseudonym, like, there's nobody cares.
you're if you're talking to yourself, you're not gonna say anything online that you don't want, possible girlfriends, boyfriends hearing, future friends, your employer, your colleagues, your customers. You're not gonna say anything you don't want those people to hear if you're talking as yourself on social media. But when you become anonymous, all those guards fall apart, and you can say whatever you want. And I think that is definitely an issue in this country, and really in the whole world.
Yeah, so I think before we close things out, I do thank everybody who follows us. I thank everybody who subscribes here on Substack. It means a lot when you subscribe. We're not asking you to pay to subscribe. We appreciate it when you do,
And
but
don't follow my account,
yeah,
because we
don't
both
follow
use
Ed's
Verizon's
account.
account.
We shared my account. Ed just has an account here to, have conversations. But I appreciate everybody who subscribes. We usually publish Substacks a few times a week. They're free. We're not doing it for money. Like I said, like, everything is free. We don't have the other tier where we charge. But I think just support. Support people that you agree with. Support people on the left, if you're on the left, who I think are honest, truthful, aren't hateful, aren't calling for any sort of violence. I think that's what we need. I think in closing, I just want to say, like, think before you post. Think before you say something online. Think think before you act, right? Like don't just act without considering the consequences. And when it comes to politics, don't feel bad, speaking out. If you think something is fascist, that's fine. You're not causing violence for saying that something Trump does seems fascist to you. Feel free to do that. Do that. I mean, I would say that's a good thing if you're doing that and you think something's fascist. Now, on the other hand, don't call for somebody to hurt somebody. Don't call for somebody to do
Don't
any
imply
damage.
it. Don't imply it either. There's ways to imply things.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. We'll try and do some more of these soon. But I think after yesterday, I just wanted to get some of that off my back. And uh, thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for joining. Any last words, Ed?
No, yeah. Thank you.